Jim Denomie was an artist almost his entire life. It affected the way he saw the world and responded to it. His aesthetics matched his temperament and values throughout his life. He was born in an unspecified date in 1955 on the Native American reservation, the Lac Oriole Band of Lake Superior Chippewa Indians, ultimately dying in his home in Schaefer, Minnesota, of cancer. He told the story of his people, the Ojibwe, and minorities in America, but also the wider vision as a man of that age during America's descent into the modern era. His works were surreal and farcical, lampooning the forces that oppress and shining brightly colored lights on the miseries of the past. His paintings and sculptures are deliberately ugly, stripping the romanticization of Native Americans and our plight as other than any and something other than another group of people betrayed by the aspirations of European descended authority figures. His style vacillates between crude cartoons and his signature iconic, iconic. You know the word I'm looking for?
Iconography.
Thanks. I have it written down. I just can't pronounce it. Large, large-lipped Indian Americans, rabbits, and the ever-present spirits of the Ojibwe faiths, and the surreal, dreamlike scenes created with broad strokes and deep, cooling colors. Denomie's works criticizing American history and revisionism was told in broad characters, crass symbolism, and impossible to miss allegories indicative of, quote, boomer humor. All right, so the main things that we want to touch on today are I'm just going to use my hands. The main, some of the more important, not important, well-known pieces that Jim, I can call him Jim, we know each other. Mr. Denomie has been notorious for, specifically, the one I've had you looking at for a little bit, also known as Eminent Domain, A Brief History of the United States of America. So, offhand, this is big, it's ugly, it's done in, if you're not familiar with painting, it is a wider brush, big sweeping strokes, broad colors, not a lot of shading, not a lot of highlights, not a lot of detail. It's very simplistic. It looks like the sort of thing you would see in uh, a, um, not a nursery, but a daycare or an elementary school. It's kind of,
You mean like a mural?
yeah, kind of a mural, kind of a Where's Waldo level of artistic design, but painted in a very impressive, um, much wider than possibly necessary um, aspect. The the painting depicts the continental United States from California to New York as a series of events that have uh, that have both stricken and been stricken from American history. So the first thing, like I said, that stands out is some of the humor that's on this.
I think the
So,
first thing that stands out is Hitler in the middle there.
yeah, I mean, if you're the kind of person who looks directly at the center of things, Hitler is dead center around a pile of bodies, indicative of the
Like,
the killing fields. And Hitler is, yes, um, Hitler famously learned a lot about uh, um, uh, systematic oppression from watching the Americans' treatments of most of its
the
marginalized
people,
people,
the natives. Yeah.
the Chinese, the Irish as well. They were kind of on a tear. Let me just go ahead and give a broad summary of Eminent Domain. It's an impressively wide painting, oil on canvas, 84 by 144 inches, which is huge, um, of the continental U.S., depicting myriads of okay. In addition to significant events as seen through the artist's eyes, including the 9/11 attacks, the Challenger disaster, as you can see below 9/11 there. Do you remember what the Challenger was?
That's when we lost a bunch of astronauts, right?
Yeah, they sent a teacher and some astronauts up and televised the whole thing. It was a huge disaster. It blew up on launch, and
Yeah, they never
everybody
launched that Big Bird.
did they. That's that would have been.
That's what I remember.
The event itself was already traumatic itself. It didn't need to become that much worse.
Exactly.
They'd have retired the character after that, out of respect, I imagine. The
He's
assassin.
still around. They almost sent Big Bird.
That's what I'm saying. It's a fictional character. They would have been in poor taste to bring it back afterwards.
I mean, you're right. Yeah, it'd be weird to have a Sesame Street arc where we revive Big Bird, the Big Bird retrieval arc.
But not the unfortunate grade school teacher who lost her life in front of her class, who was in attendance. I hear watching. But
that, yeah.
This is not about the Challenger. It just happens to be an event that he depicted in this painting. In addition to that, there was the assassination of President Kennedy, this moments of the Civil War, the Oklahoma bombings of the federal building. You can see in the general area down by Texas. Yeah.
Trail of Tears.
Of course, intersped with the events are a tableau of atrocities, broken promises, and the general bigotry and devaluation of lives of non-white people, with a particular focus on the indigenous. The style is simple, with bright colors and broad strokes. The metaphors are very heavy-handed. The symbols are deliberately evocative of something that would ordinarily be produced by or for children. Much of the humor throughout is irreverent and dark, emphasizing the artist's particular message that no one is above ridicule or criticism. The painting is one of the artist's more popular pieces, but this was retrieved from the Tacoma College Online Library Guide after I had searched for his name. So, we've got, from east to west, obviously, the famous 9/11 attacks, and now we have a little bit of his humor. You see the Statue of Liberty is standing nude on top of a toilet because, like I said, boomer humor. George Washington on the $1 bill as he appears above the White House. And then massive killing fields and lynching trees of the tribes of the Northeast, and kind of the first real trouble with the tribes pushed out of Manhattan in New York and out of colonial New England. As it presses on, we've got other issues like up the top. You see Mount Rushmore with various pop culture faces. I can discern Elvis and
second to the left is Prince, maybe.
I was gonna say Jimi Hendrix.
Oh yeah.
Van Morrison.
J.K. Rowling.
That it's too long ago to have been J.K. Rowling. It better not be J.K. Rowling. Famously, the Mount Rushmore is carved into a sacred mountain to the local tribe. Mm-hmm. So the fact that they carved presidents' faces onto that is on par with having carved irreverent pop culture personalities why would you carve any man's face into this mountain? They're all equally irrelevant compared to what this mountain means. Uh, the presidents that the people hold sacrosanct at the time are no more important to the local tribes than these four celebrities. So having their faces carved into the mountains is equally offensive to them as if it had actually been these four people. We got the lynchings down at the in the Alabama Mississippi area, and over to the west a little bit more, we've got Custer fleeing as he on a go kart from Wounded Knee, carrying a sign saying "Custard for President." He's famously an idiot, but a very headstrong one. Up at the top, a very upsetting picture of missionaries. Again, another terrible, terrible thing to have befallen the native people is the I forget the exact term, but basically they would remove the children from their culture, prevent them from speaking their language or having their observing their own culture, and basically trying to force Christianity on them. Depicted here by a preacher with a banana, trying force feeding it to a kneeling native child, implying some of the sexual abuses of the church in recent memory.
Mm-hmm.
Told you it was going to be unpleasant. We've got the expanse of farmers. Go ahead.
I believe you. I'm looking at it.
We've got the expansive of farmers out into the northwest. What you see there next to the farmer with a plow is a native man mooning him as he leaves, because unfortunately a lot of iconography of the vanishing Indian was a very famous romanticized thing around 50 years ago. It's unfortunately still a part of the Minnesota State Seal, that they're very proud that they're pushing Indians out, and it's very disgusting. And as a result, Mr. Denomie thought it was humorous to have the Indian on his way to vanishing into the West to be mooning the farmer as he goes.
Yeah, I find it interesting that the mooning Indian is heading toward a sign that says Las Vegas when they're at the northwestern point of they're heading into Canada.
Sure. I believe that's just more in the sense.
West they can go.
I think that's to imply that they're moving away from living on the land and more towards casino-based.
Yeah, I figured that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but we'll talk about that in a minute. If you get another little bit of his humor, in the very, very upper left-hand corner, you can see what looks like somebody pulling something. It's supposed to be an Asian person pulling a Native American person with Chinese takeout on a rickshaw over the Alaska passage. A lot of people were a fan of the idea that Native Americans and Eastern Asians were descended by a land bridge. They're related by a common ancestor that traveled across a land bridge. So therefore, Indians are the same as Chinese, because racism and fake science. And evidently, he found that humorous and wanted to lampoon that scene here.
I mean, to be fair, that is a little silly.
It is incredible. Yes, absolutely.
It does take the actual history of people moving across back when the world was different, and just but what if it centered white people?
Yeah. What if everything we believed was reinforced by science, and history. And that touches on the revisionism that sticks to modern teaching today. Further south, we've got Hollywood, the famous Tonto and the Lone Ranger, having a brief discussion about how the Lone Ranger lied, and the Lone Ranger responds, "Get used to it," because yeah, it's a famous serial of. Are you familiar with the Lone Ranger, the character? All right, so back in the early days of movies, when movies were basically television, and you would go to the theaters and watch a bunch of shorts and commercials,
like serials.
Yeah. One of them was the Lone Ranger, and they would play the William Tell Overture, and he would shoot people with silver bullets. And he had an Indian friend named Tonto who was magic, but not magic, but in that same way that people believe Native Americans and old black men are magic.
Yeah, that native mysticism.
Yeah.
Well, I guess just that othered in mysticism.
Well, I mean, not every other gets the benefit of having superpowers as a result of white ignorance.
Yeah, but they can commune with their ancestors. They have knowledge passed down.
Right? They can.
Like Americans who do their own way, pull themselves up by their own bootstraps.
Right, and not have their slaves pull them by their bootstraps.
Exactly.
All right, so we're going to move on to another picture, but I did want to highlight just below the killing pits with Hitler there in the middle. You'll see a cop car with two Indian gentlemen holding chickens. Do you see that?
Yeah, a chicken and a fish. It looks like.
Yeah. So apparently, and this is credit to Mr. Denomie's mission in life. I was not aware of this before beginning this project. I was aware that everywhere that you go, that there are Indian people, there is some kind of horrible thing that the white people came and did on their way through during eminent domain. One of the things that is shockingly more recent than it should be allowed, or which is really any time, the reservation was running out of food, and they were trying to petition the governor to basically release some food that had been like legally earmarked for them. They were entitled to this food. It was set aside for them. And then the county distributor said no. If they're hungry, and I quote, and I'm going to swear on this official document, just because I am quoting, let them eat grass or their own shit. So, yeah, in 1970, a human being said, let them eat grass or their own shit of other human beings much later than the civil rights movement. Well into the 70s, well past the point of the romanticization of the reemergence of acknowledging that Native Americans exist. Just unconscionable evil. So as a result, some of the men would go and sneak into town because they were starving to death, and they grabbed some eggs. 3 eggs. They called the cops on them. The cops grabbed 3 men, couldn't fit all of them in the squad car, so they stuffed 2 men into the trunk.
Oh, Jesus.
Right? So, flagrant, wild, inhuman inhumanity within modern memory. Mm-hmm. So it's not all just, it was another time, it was another era.
Very American.
Yes. We had well and truly industrialized. We had settled. We had television. We had most facets of the modern world, and we're still doing unconscionable evil. So that is some of Mr. Denomie's humor. It's black. It's irreverent, as in it doesn't hold anything to be special. If you can't really see it very well here, but we'll get to it in some of the other pictures. It's the faces are deliberately ugly because what is happening here is very ugly, and he wants that to be remembered that nobody here is being valorized. Nobody here, even the victims, are human beings. They're not noble for their suffering. They just suffered.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, we're going to move on to the next one. The
storyteller?
Yeah, the storyteller. Okay.
All right.
So
looking at it.
All right. So the spiritual sex series is 2 points, are basically in the same general composition. A central figure on the right against a tree, a landscape in the background, and visions in the night sky above rolling hills. So whereas the spirit quest is a spirit, the vision quest is the spirit watching a tableau unfold before his eyes in the night sky. Storyteller, which is more in keeping with what Mr. Denomie himself actually was, is the first half is oil on canvas, 48 by 60 inches, and depicts the head of a Native American man growing out of a tree branch, telling a number of stories, visualized as various figures flying away from the head. A fish, two spirits intermingling. It's like I said, explicitly them having sex. A tree full of body parts, two birds, a turtle, a frog, a person, a spirit, and a jet plane. The two human-like figures and a frog appear above in the higher branch of the tree, witnessing the events unfold. The scenery below the told stories is a landscape of rolling hills in darker colors, one of which appears to be a woman's body lying prone with her arms raised over her head. The moon overhead is darkened over a procession of nude travelers on horseback, witnessing the events of the story. The same procession of riders also appears in the second painting in the series, Vision Quest. A collection of the artist's work are preserved by the Berkeley Gallery. So, in both of these paintings, you have basically a story of some people traveling and then seeing these things, these events. The spirits in the trees, this fish here, the signs of the future, the jet plane, and some of the creation myths with the animals. So the biggest thing to take from this is because you can see the stroke work on this. I wanted to get more into some of his actual painting. A lot of you can see this was all sketched out. This is done in layers. He had a style he considered called it playing chess with the painting. He would start and he would get an impression of what he wanted to tell, and over the years he would come back and make adjustments and try to move the painting along so it's more of an experience, more in keeping with what he hoped it to actually be and who he changed as a person to appreciate differently. And we see some of that in the general composition of the storyteller's face. Like I said, we're going to get into like why the Native Americans in his paintings generally look like this. But we're going to save that for your favorite, a man and a woman with a child emerging. No, from here. So it is. He said in an interview that he, not an interview, once he was accepting the VAC awards. If you go to Santa Fe, if you do traditional painting, Indian paintings, buffalo and teepees and things like that, you go down to Santa Fe, you make a killing as a quote unquote Indian artist. If you sell romanticism and Americana and this whole image that America has of its former history. Yeah, if you sell that to them, you will make a comfortable living. And he said, I don't want to do that. If I wanted to make money, I could just paint pictures of Elvis on velvet. He wanted to challenge himself. He still wanted to remain true to his roots, which is why we see so many of the creation myths here with the procession. But also to make it his and through his vision. His style he called metaphorical symbolism. Hold on, let me make sure I got that right because it keeps coming up and it's a weird term. And it's every time you see it, it's in quotes because I assume nobody else uses this term but him.
He just makes his own thing up.
Yeah, which is, sounds
very him so far.
Sure. I believe it was, metaphorical surrealism. I'm sorry. Basically, Salvador Dali, the melting clocks, the sneeze, the various impossible landscape pictures of things that just cannot be. So you've got that, but also everything means something. And it just so happens that as a person who was active in Native American culture his entire life, some of the surreal images that he saw were of these things that were significant to him. So even though he lived a very comfortable life. He didn't sell out. He was still moderately well off. He still worked as a construction worker most of his life. He still maintained a connection to these things that he found significant.
Good for him.
Sometimes that's all you have. All right, so now we're going to go down to your favorite and mine.
Oh, Jesus.
All right. Man and woman with child emerging under walleye moon. This portrait is a oil on canvas, 35 by 49 inches of a non-specified man and woman set against a blurred backdrop of the moon shining during an early dusk. As the title implies, there's a triangular shape around the moon, implying that the moon is the eye of a particular species of fish. Although the couple...
Fish.
Yeah, you don't see the...
Kurama, Naruto.
References, right? Well, there's a black triangle around the moon, and that makes the shape of the fish.
Oh, I do see it now.
Yeah. And that's my fault. I should have pointed that out better. Although the couple are rendered in warm tones, that's fine. I can be wrong. The highlights are shaded in
Maybe he was just a huge Naruto fan.
It's also possible. It's one of the later works. He so, like I said, he was into art his whole life. When he was a very young child, like 4 or 5, his cousin came over and showed him how to make a basic um, still life. A bowl, some fruit, a couple cereal boxes, some cans, some bottles, and basically learned line work and shade and how to shade and how to draw lines and what the depth is. And then from there, unable to unsee it. It was a permanent part of his life. Dropped out of school, started doing construction, eventually got into drugs and then a party life. And then for about 35 years, not 35 years, about 25 years until around 1990, he put it all down, got his life back, and started attending. Started attending.
Or something?
No, he actually went to college.
Oh,
So, well, I mean, obviously, while still working, hanging drywall, but he worked at and got his art degree, and continued, appreciating paint. And this is where we get some of why I felt the eminent domain was so childlike, like that. Because he in another interview he was discussing some of his influences, and he referred to this other painter who used these huge thick strokes and these bright vivid colors, and it gripped him, it seized him, it got his attention, because it has that childlike joy, of that pure appreciation of the image of what it is. And if you listen to other interviews with him, he always holds on to that perspective as being something to idealize. So I feel for when he does his more straight up political work, like the Casino Sunrise or Eminent Domain or the Last Stand at the I should have had that name in front of me. The Kentucky Bar and Grill. It's the Fort. I should have had it in front of me. I believe it's in Fort McKinley Bar and Grill. It's just various famous paintings, like do you know the famous painting Nighthawks of the two people at the diner, at the middle of the night? It's a man and a woman at a diner, and there's no way in or out of it's no obvious way in or out of the diner, but it's just basically two people sitting at the counter.
yeah. I saw someone turn that into a Bob's Burgers version.
Yeah. Well, he basically had that, but it was a White Castle, and it was kind of the Native American siege that you see in the movies. Not you don't see in the movies anymore. It was famous back in the 40s and the 50s as one of those serials of, oh no, the Indians are attacking, and basically they were attacking a White Castle because, as I said, they were being starved out because the local government didn't want to feed them. By the way, the guy who said let them eat grass or let them eat shit, they found him later. They found his body. His mouth was stuffed with grass. So
poetic.
Yeah. I mean, it's what happens when you treat people like animals. Anyway, symbolic surrealism. No, wait, where were we? No, because I had gotten away from this point to go read. Okay, man and woman. Okay, symbolic. Okay. Okay. All right, the highlights. All right. Although the couple are rendered in warm tones, the highlights are and shading are in muted blues and purples, helping to further emphasize the time of day. The title states that a child is also emerging. finger slip. There's no apparent third person in the painting. Say it again.
That's what I was confused by.
Yeah, there's no apparent third person in the painting, and doesn't render the subjects low enough to tell if the woman is pregnant. The faces of both people are depicted in the artist's signature broad strokes, exaggerating the facial features to a near parody level. The lips go all the way around the mouth. They are thick and characterized. Their eyes are huge, bulging, and piercing. The artist has stated at multiple times that he considers his style to be symbolic surrealism, an overall approximation of human faces here are representative of the symbols of people rather than an actual portrait. The image we're seeing now is being preserved by the Bockley Gallery, the contemporary art venue in Minneapolis, Minnesota, via their online archive. So I wanted to show this to you because if you go back and you look at almost any other one of his paintings, Native Americans are always painted like this. You can see from the Mount Rushmore and the Bin Laden and all of the other portraits that he did.
Priest, Kennedy.
Yeah, those people have normal faces, or at least faces that look normal. He only exaggerates Native Americans like this because there was a trend of the noble savage, of the long-suffering and magical, proud Native American people. And he just wanted to strip that down to its bare essence and make them just regular, ugly people. And as a result, whenever you see Native Americans or even the spirits of his faith in these pictures, they're usually rendered in this style. And this is
definitely see it more pronounced with the Tonto and the Lone Ranger on the first one.
Yes.
Like even though the way he does the bridge of the nose is all like one stroke. He doesn't do that for the Ranger, which is very noticeable.
Yes. And also, like, some of the colors, it's not just browns or reds. He's also got, he's clearly got ability. He can do colors and shadings in really striking ways that convey also, this is night, it's low light. These people have tan, dark, red skin, but this is what they look like in the dark.
Yeah, you're right.
All right.
Think to look, and you can even tell some of the way the shadows are working with the woman standing behind, presumed woman standing behind the presumed man.
Yes, that's the other thing. Both of them have their breasts exposed, and it's if you didn't know that the man is wearing the headband, you would assume it was two women. But he's done a portrait called Two Beautiful Witches, that looks a little bit more like this, but from further back. And it's just two women depicted like this in a way that is unafraid of human bodies. So that's the other thing. He's not. All right, we'll get to that later.
Shy about the human form.
No, he's not. But there's also another point to be made there. But we'll get to that after we handle the next picture. Mona Lisa as a blue-eyed witch from 2020. This picture is oil on canvas, 40 by 30 inches. The artist's rendition of the classic painting Mona Lisa depicts. Rendition of the classic painting Mona Lisa depicts the titular woman in her iconic pose, nude, flanked by three spirits the artist is familiar with, set against a melange of colors in the artist's trademark style. The central subject is depicted as having blue eyes, despite the original's darker shade, possibly emphasizing her European ancestry, something that it's kind of one of those reverse. I hesitate to say reverse racism, but it's a stereotype that it's an unflattering stereotype that some Native Americans had about Europeans is just blue eyes, pale, redneck, and so on. So not so much because if you look at Mona Lisa, she has kind of olive skin, black hair, brown eyes. She could pass as a number of ethnicities, but she is held up as this portrait of pure beauty and mastery of the art. But she is a European woman who is not particularly. Uh, there's nothing wrong with Mona Lisa herself, but what she represents is a corrupting force, and that's why she's depicted as a witch. When she's blue-eyed is because she has features that would not set her apart from a native person. So she has a little bit of that European evil in her, so to speak.
I think I get that.
Let me pick up. Someone in the Ojibwe considered a person who. All right. So, uh, navigating this, my own notes is a huge mess. All right. The title labels the subject as a witch. Someone in the Ojibwe considered a person who abuses spiritual power. This particular portrait helps emphasize that the artist is capable of more than his abstract style or his farcical characters, without distancing itself too far from the surreal imagery that he often depicts. And I finger slipped. Meaning that the more symbolic faces are a deliberate choice of expression and not a limitation of his abilities. Again, this is part of the collection from the Bockley Gallery in Minneapolis. Yes, you can see some of the spirits he's got back there: the elk, the rabbit, or wabose, a symbol of the trickster spirit, and one of Mr. Denomie's self-professed guardian animal. He often uh, depicts himself as a rabbit or having rabbit characteristics. Um, and if you look closely, yeah, if you look in most of his paintings, there is a rabbit on there somewhere, and that's both a self-insert and the rabbit actually participating in an event here or there.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing some. Whoa.
Right. So, right. Obviously, this is done in 2020. He's well established as a known, celebrated, award-winning artist at this point. He's got um, he's got notoriety for doing these uh, political cartoons on paintings, and for doing these surreal images that we saw with the Storyteller series and the Man and the Woman. So you can see why somebody who is, I feel, staring at the epitome of uh, painting mastery, the Mona Lisa, and viewing it as not something to be aspired to, but rather the corrupting force of of European influence, tainting what would have been his own creative spirits. You see there in the background, and making them into something ugly, specifically her. For the most part, I believe she's nude here just because he renders. And then we'll just go ahead and get to that his humor now. Uh, he's there are many nude breasts. There's many exposed phalluses. There are many nude women in his political art, in his surreal art. He in a character of himself that he's drawn on Instagram called Diabetic Rabbit. You're not looking up his Instagram, are you?
Oh, can you hear that?
Yeah, it's fine if you are. Um, there's basically a portrait of him giving himself an insulin shot that he has sketched out, but it's got it basically the iconic. I need to stop saying a word that I can't say. It's got the visual shorthand of a person shooting up heroin, but it's him doing insulin. And some of the he's got five birds flying around his head. One of them is resting on him, and it's his face on a much more reduced and generally depicted body. They didn't spend a lot of time depicting musculature and shading and stuff. It's it's a first pass. Like I said, he died in 2004. Some of these sketches didn't actually make it into finished works. This was his style of creating rough drafts, and you don't generally see a lot. Yeah, Diabetic Rabbit Juicin on Instagram, March 4th of 2022. The sketch is permanent ink, ballpoint pen on paper, 11 and a half. 11 by 8.5 inches. As part of a series of self-portraits that the artist produced in the year before his death. In it, he portrays himself as a half-spiritual, half-perverse version of his self-described guardian animal, Wabose, or the rabbit, in Ojibwe, and is a common element in many of his works throughout his life. One of his rabbit ears is a branch, and the other is an exaggerated sex toy. The artist's face is sunken and neutral as he gives himself an injection with his bicep tied off, more in line with heroin use than insulin injections. The artist's body is stark and nude, with implied shading and contouring, possessing two right hands. Five birds circle his head while a sixth one rests on him. The series was included in the Greater Book of Sketches found in Jim Denomie Sketchwork, but is visible at the time of this writing on Instagram at /Jim Denomie. Were you able to find it?
I was not. I had to log into Instagram.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's fine. When you get the chance to see it, it's striking how a man sees himself. And that brings us to something it's kind of all inclusive of all of this as the boomerness of his views. As anybody who's had to have a protracted conversation with baby boomers, there's a certain degree of entitlement, but also from a Native American man who has witnessed cruelty firsthand. Like I said, he's born in '55, and he was forced off the reservation by the time he was 4 because they wanted the people off the reservation. They wanted them resettled, and they wanted them to not move. They wanted them to the state wanted them to intermingle with people. I forget what the word is. It's
Assimilate?
Yes, there you go. That's the word. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. They wanted the more of the people to assimilate into uh, quote unquote American society as if they weren't Americans. So as a result, his immediate family would visit his grandparents on the reservation every holiday, but for the most part, he had to learn to live among white Americans, and that's ever since like 1959. So he spent most of his life in Minnesota, where many of the awful things that we see in some of these paintings happened. But as I was saying, uh, the kind of irreverent, I know what's right, you haven't seen what I've seen, boomer mentality, where there's not a lot of give or take anymore. The I know what's right and whatever I say goes attitude of someone who has uh, basically reached 60 plus years in their life as a man who has carved his way through life and doesn't apologize for what he finds amusing. And you see that because he will have various heads of state, various important people traipsing around down the Yellow Brick Road topless, uh, soliciting themselves or basically having penises just everywhere on some of the more distasteful figures, just having them flopping around is deliberately supposed to be uncomfortable, but also, like by his own admission, is just something that he liked to see, and he liked to put things that he likes to see in his paintings because he can do what he wants. Does that come across, or is my bias against old people showing?
Sorry,
Zoning out.
I was no, I was trying to find that one image of him
Oh,
shooting up, but scrolling
that,
through his Instagram, I definitely do understand that. Like specifically, scroll again to try and find it. There's this image he painted, or at least in his style, of like an "I'm voting" sticker, but it's just a woman running topless.
yes. And many of those nude sketches ended up in birthday cards for his kids, for his wife. Obviously, he's well loved by his family. They understand who and what he is, and have accepted and endorsed what he does as art. And nobody's crying foul when he renders the former governor of Minnesota, Jesse Ventura, uh, in a speedo or in a thong.
Body?
Yes, fishing with grenades, smoking a cigar with one shoe on, and just being completely, like I said, irreverent. Does not respect these people
Yeah, like
who
this
who
image of Jesus Christ about to dunk a basketball on the
on the cross. Yes.
on the cross.
Yeah, and that
Um,
ended up working itself
brilliant.
way into another thing that I wanted to talk about. Casino Sunrise is basically his take um, on the state seal of Minnesota. As I explained earlier, is a landscape with a white man pushing a plow through a dirt field and an Indian on a horse fading away into the west. So even though it is flagrantly racist, it's still the state seal today. So even without all of the push to make uh, to stop glorifying the horrors of the past, Minnesota is still thoroughly proud of what they are. And as a result, you can see if you Google Casino Sunrise by Jim Denomie, um, another tableau of his similar to Eminent Domain, only this one significantly more, uh, what is the word? Politically driven. There still has the atrocities in of uh, of American imperialism across native lands, but it's also got a lot of more contemporary references, and the Americanization of Jesus is one of them.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing some stuff that appeared in Eminent Domain. Like you said, the Mooning Indian. There's the cop car with the natives in the trunk. Although this time I think it says "Go Vikings."
Yeah, because I mean they're still locals. They weren't foreigners. They were
Yeah,
people
they're
who
right
spent
next
their
door.
life. No, that's what I'm saying. It's that they were people. They were part of the community. They were human beings who were had favorite football teams, the same as anyone else, but they were treated worse than animals.
Yeah, it seems if this is if this is supposed to be a reference to like the Minnesota seal,
Yes.
the this farmer figure in the center
Hmm.
seems to be doing a lot
Yeah, and
besides boa, grenades, and money.
that is Jesse Ventura.
Oh,
Yeah, he's turned away from the camera for reasons. Or the viewer, sorry. He's turned away from the viewer, so you can't really see his face too well. But he has stated several times that yes, that is Jesse, the Governor Ventura.
I was gonna say he's looking right at the camera on the image.
Oh, the one I looked at had him looking over the shoulder.
Oh yeah, but
Eh.
I mean
You see
like
him
he's
in
looking at
profile. Yeah,
the camera.
but yeah. As a result,
Oh, I thought that was a redneck riding a bull, and it's technically a redneck riding a bull. Jiminy Christmas.
yeah, it's deliberately uncomfortable. It's supposed to shock you out of your comfort. There's a unfortunate trend of whitewashing history to no. There's the trend in history is to stop all the way up until the civil rights movement, and then there was no new history ever since then. And
Until 2012.
what
Or
happened?
sorry,
Yeah.
2008, when our boy, our favorite, um,
Oh.
uh,
Oh.
racism stopping president,
Oh. Well, yeah. I mean, 9/11 happened as
decided.
well, but then Obama happened, and then that just
No,
became good.
I just mean in like reference to your civil rights discussion. Just like
Oh.
we did civil rights, it was great, and then like what 50 years later, we got a black president, and nothing happened between those 50 years.
Right. And that was part of the importance of people like Jim Denomie is that he chose to be unpleasant in a way that was striking and attention grabbing and forced people to look and laugh and really reckon with some of the things that don't appear in history books, uh, that don't appear in textbooks, that don't uh, get talked about during memorial events, that still haven't been apologized for. Um, and while I personally don't uh, he's not one of my personal inspirations. I can see and appreciate the impact that he has had in not only showing Native Americans as more than the classic uh, stoic, proud savage that the contemporary culture has tried to paint us as, but as people who are both human, flawed, and deeply, deeply betrayed by uh, the concept of human decency.
Yeah, it seems like a very tough line to toe, but I mean, after a couple of decades doing that, like I feel like he got a strong grasp of like trying to satirize and make uncomfortable the types of people that would like look at his art and be like, "There's nothing of value here."
Right. I mean, because, like I said, you can look at the political cartoon-ishness of things like Casino Sunrise and of um, Eminent Domain and some of his other deliberately heavy-handed works and say, "Oh, this is nothing more than a cartoonist, a gag artist, passing himself as a real auteur." But like I said, you can see the Buckley work. You can see they're all on display. He had a connection to who his heritage, to the life he lived, and to the person that he was, and he showed that through his ability. It's just controversy gets attention, and with that attention, he tried to do something good with it, something that he believed needed to be done, and would occasionally revisit, but also didn't let him consume him, and still found things to celebrate, even if they were childish, sophomoric, and perverse. He was a man. He wasn't some deified artist figure. He was just a guy who loved art, who appreciated art and other artists his whole life, and found his own voice, and still managed to become something that he himself was proud of. There was a there's an interview about in a book about basically of casino, how casino ownership has affected tribal life, and basically the popular conception of Native Americans as being wealthy and hiding out, and the overall conversation is is praising of him. It's not too hard on who he is. The in it, Mr. Nadomi responds that well, the conversation is like, how do you feel about Native American art, and then how do you feel about how Native Americans are perceived in conjunction with casino ownerships? And he responded that while he mostly saw it as a negative thing, uh, that uh, the popular conception of Native Americans are that we're all rich because we just have these casinos, and we're all raking in this money. We're just sitting around making more constantly without working. It's still the 1% who owns those casinos. There's still only a fraction of people sitting on all that money. Most people are still living in poverty. They're not seeing a dime from that. The popular conception that we all have money now is hurting more people than it helps, because the compassion that helps us survive as a society and as a community is kind of eroded away by the idea that we might have more money than we actually have access to. You catch that?
Yeah, I'm trying to like come up with a good response because like yeah, it's just capitalism all the way down.
Certainly.
Not we're really like hearing about those type of stereotypes growing up. I did like I never really thought that natives in general were like doing well because of the casinos. Like I always felt like yeah, it was always people who owned the casinos were probably doing well.
Right. And the
But
idea is that the money was supposed to go back to the reservations and provide for people, provide for the communities that things like tourism just doesn't because there's not a whole lot of tourism on the reservations. There's not a lot of industry. You kind of have to leave the reservation in order to make a living. So the idea was that
I
the
think part of
go ahead.
I mean, I think part of it is, why diversity is a good place. I met a lot of Native people growing up and like heard these stories. So like when I heard those, you know, natives doing well because of casinos, like I could point to at least a handful of people who are just like, no, they didn't grow up well. Though they are not spending those monies on the reservations.
Right. And it's unfortunate because yes, if you spend the time and you meet the people and then you go to these places, the illusion is dispelled immediately. It's all it takes is just a moment to realize what's actually happening here. But it's become synonymous in in American shorthand. If you see a casino, you think Native American. And that is why, in a lot of his paintings, there will be a casino, but it won't have a specific statement about casino ownership because it's just late stage capitalism. That they don't mean anything other than, hey, incoming shorthand, the people around this building, those are all Native Americans. So just know that when you look at what's happening to them, or if they're flying, if there's a rainbow over a casino, it's not glorifying the casino. It's saying something about the Wizard of Oz and the lies it told in reference to Native Americans. It's not actually the pot of gold is at the end of the rainbow and it's casino ownership. It's a bigger metaphor, and the casino is just a shorthand for Native Americans.
Yeah, dang.
So yeah, Jim Denomie. If you would like I said, the Berkeley Institute. Since he passed away tragically at the end of a very long, not a very long life, a tragically shorter life than it should have been. About 4 years ago, he his the Berkeley Institute is preserving a lot of his more well known paintings. There's also private collections and a couple of his books. The link on Instagram isn't working anymore, but yes, I think everybody should see it once. You don't need to love him or to be uh, enraptured by him. You don't need to think he's a genius. But I still think that every American living in America who believes that they know American history should at least view his paintings once.